So, sir, then how do you rise in an
Yeah.
organization, especially when you know the hierarchy is not much?
One of my bosses says, your career is like an L.
So both matter, internal and external
After a
motivation.
while, after a while, you don't want any more shabashis anymore because
Sometimes you're given a role which is not desirable by you.
so everyone will say, "Wow, this guy is rising star," as they, whatever they call
Yeah.
nowadays. I was still feeling discontented.
When did you decide that I want to be the managing director?
Firstly, I want to say I envy her job because look at the things she's doing now. She's meeting different people and learning.
Namaste, I'm Shubhi Mathur and I welcome you all to season 2 of Let Us Talk. This season, we are diving into challenges which we face during our midlife, professional as well as personal. Today's podcast will help us to navigate our professional challenges. And as we get deeper in the conversation, we will discuss the impact of these challenges in our personal life. The takeaway, the learning from today's episode will help you all to navigate the challenges such as how to rise in an organization. Are you on the right career path? Have you identified the right career goal? And also how to prioritize your family responsibilities with your career ambitions. It is an honor and privilege to welcome Mr. Satish Jamdar on Let Us Talk. Welcome, sir. Welcome on Let Us Talk.
Subhi, thank you very much for inviting me again. I remember the last episode we had.
Yeah.
For me, that was the first time we
Yes, we
did this.
interacted. Yeah.
And that was a little different. But
It was a Zoom model.
yeah, this is slightly different. We given a great, shall I say, overview of what we want to discuss.
And sir, thanks to you for this. In your previous episode, by the way, let me tell our viewers that the link of the previous episode is mentioned in the description. And you had told us that do something what you're uncomfortable doing. Do something what you've never done before, and it will give you a new perspective. I think it was that learning which helped me to curate season 2. Thanks to you, sir, and let me share with our viewers about you also. For those of you joining us for the first time, Mr. Jamdar is a seasoned professional with wealth of knowledge on learning, personal development, and making tough career decisions. He retired as the managing director of Blue Star Limited in 2016. You started your career with working with esteemed organizations like Siemens,
Was the first one. Yeah.
Voltas, and then you were in White Consumer Goods Company. You
Yeah.
also did a startup in between. You also joined a startup and then Blue Star. So, sir, you've switched companies, you've
Yeah.
switched industries, you've switched roles. So, what is your view on navigating these job changes? Because I see these job changes are not perceived uniformly by everyone. Some see it as growth, as coming out of your comfort zone. Some see it to be in the same job to reflect stability on your resume. So, what is your take on this?
I guess it's everyone's choice and how they want to take it. I followed one principle, and that may have been for different reasons. No change did I do which is in the same industry. And I never went with, say, a team of people. So every time I went to a new place, it was a new environment, a new kind of business, new set of people. The reason, of course, I did that initially and continue doing that even now is I don't want anyone to then later say you learned everything here and you went and applied it somewhere else, or you took some information from here to there. Somehow I had this feeling that I need to start afresh. And in any case, I feel, I discussed that with you, you've just mentioned that getting out of comfort zones is, you want to really evolve yourself, then you must try out new things. So for me, these were new excitements, if you want to call it that. Of course, they came with a lot of hard work because one had to actually study, learn, understand a new organization, and yet try and succeed. Your past record of what you did and how well you did normally didn't work because you had to start afresh. So these are some of the pros and cons. If you are already good at something, move to another company with that knowledge and that expertise, obviously, I think it's easier to get into it immediately because you have that information and learning already with you. But anyway, that's a matter of choice. I think any change you make should have a longer term plan. It should be part of a scheme of things that you are looking forward in. What do you want to grow, where do you want to reach, what kind of role you want to play ahead. And so doing that kind of thing is important, I think. I'll give you a few examples maybe after we go
So, sir,
forward.
like you are saying, you went to something, like you always looked for something new, exciting. But my question still remains that what is your take on these job switches? Like, should people, like now, if I take the exam, we are talking about midlife, but if I take freshers, like normally people say freshers every 2 years they'll change a job. When you come in your midlife, you need to show the stability. So people try to stick on for 5 years, 7 years. So, how do you feel? Are these job changes required, or if you are in an organization and it allows you to grow, so should you be there? Like, I started today's conversation with this because everywhere we get to hear, oh, he's switching job, he's doing this, and it is perceived differently. Oh, he's just changing for money or a senior role. So that's why I started today's conversation with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I need to be a little fair with the time differences.
Yeah.
When we were younger, India was not as lively or as
Full of opportunities.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we were still in those what we call license Raj.
Yeah.
Everything was limited. To wait for a car for 20 years, you
Yeah.
wait for a telephone for 20
Television or
years,
telephone,
everything.
yeah.
You had to wait because everything was produced deliberately in smaller numbers compared to what was really required. And so new jobs, growth were a little more difficult. So one tended to be a little careful. Today, I think it's very different.
Bubbling
But
with
yeah,
opportunities.
exactly. And I think that's good. It's good for the youngsters. But I would still caution that don't do it like laterally just for a few thousand rupees more or for more income. See whether it's adding value to you. See whether it's making you take higher responsibility. Things like that, because you must all the time strive to keep going up in how you're learning, how you're able to take a larger role. The moment you take larger role and become more senior or take a larger responsibility, you tend to have a larger canvas to manage. And so obviously it challenges you more. It makes you more competent. And I think that's important to do it in that way. So just switching jobs, see, unless you're feeling stagnant, you're not enjoying, you're not feeling engaged with the company, the culture doesn't seem to work with you, then I would say don't waste your time because you'll be unhappy. So if you made a mistake in taking a job which wasn't your right position or place, then I would make a correction. But those are, I guess, not happening all the time.
Yeah.
So that's my general
Take on
advice.
this.
Yeah.
So, like you said, that if you feel stagnant at a job or if it is not according to your thing, then it's a personal choice that you change and all. But this wisdom dawns later. And mostly I see people till 35 or 30, they are a little lost that where they want to head to, and till that time they are just grabbing opportunities. So I would like to ask you, because here we will discuss your journey, which will be an inspiration for our viewers, that when did you decide that I want to be the managing director?
So I'll just step back a little. I agree that a lot of this, I'm talking from hindsight now. I don't exactly remember what was my mental state when I was much younger and I took, say, my first change. But I don't think I looked at, I mean, I knew I had to do well. My family, my parents, circumstances around me always pushed me to do well. I mentioned my last show that we were not well to do at all. My father had monetary problems. I had to borrow and do
From
my
your aunt,
education,
yeah.
right? So we went through all that. So I couldn't go abroad to study. I couldn't do higher studies. So I got limited in that sense. But all these things mattered because you realize that you have to do something much more if you want to rise and not stay in this situation. And so hard work, trying to do something more, and in that, luckily, I would say just plain hard work is not enough. One has to think of, are you actually growing?
Yeah.
And there are things people taught me. There's so many people who must have given me. I forget who taught me what, but they all are sort of imbibed inside and assimilated, which help now in taking decisions perhaps. But yes, when you are younger, uh, maybe a little more quick to take decisions. I would suggest think over things. If you feel that you're being impulsive, it's better to sit down and actually note down what you're doing and why you're doing.
Yeah.
What's the pros and cons? I found that very helpful. Then you read yourself what you wrote to yourself and see whether it's making sense, or do you want to. I would say also have some patience. If you're good, I believe people will come to you for other options and new opportunities. So don't be ready to just jump in what came to you first time. So have that patience. If you're building yourself for a long career, if you're adding competencies, adding skills, adding abilities, you certainly will rise. I have no doubt about it. And especially today in this country, there's a lot of expectation of growth. We know that, and so you're in the right spot. Just be sure that you're ready for the right things, and take those chances when they come to you. One more thing, you don't have to always change your company.
Yeah.
I found that within my career also, especially my first job, I spent 10 years with Siemens in my first job. But it wasn't one job, it was actually two distinct jobs. I'm just giving an example. The first 5 years were building blocks. You come out of college, you know very little about how companies actually operate. So you learn. And Siemens being a German company, you know how
Yeah.
specific they are, how process driven they are. Everything was written down, everything was what will come to you from where, in what format, gave you that big picture. So that building that foundation was very good. And I would recommend first job is very important from that angle.
So this reminds me, sometime back I was reading a friend's LinkedIn post,
Hmm.
and she has been in the same organization for 20 years, 21 years now, and this is her first job. And she had written that in today's time where people switch jobs every 4 5 years, I am here and I'm happy. And she's climbed well up the corporate ladder. So, sir, this is your learning. Like, you have switched jobs, you've switched many jobs, and maybe this is your learning that it is not necessary to switch job.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
So, sir, then how do you rise in an organization? And especially when you know the hierarchy is not much, the roles are not much. So, how do you make yourself indispensable, or how do you do different things or things differently that you rise in the same organization?
I have many friends who joined as trainees, who continued in the same organization, rose to reach the top levels. So I don't claim that you have to shift jobs, but I think what you need to do then is that you obviously can't do the same job. You need to all the time think of lateral shifts, or with internally taking on some larger responsibilities. Be willing then to move to other divisions to learn some new thing, which happened to me in Siemens, by the way. That after 5 years, I moved from electrical business to the medical business. But I got
Rank up.
I got a positional jump. Like I was operating as an engineer, and I became a manager. So
But
that
sir, this-
obviously one took the chance, and it was an internal. Internally, you know the company well,
Yeah.
you know how it works. So to that extent, it's an advantage. So I don't belittle. I don't say that you have to change jobs. I will explain to you why I needed to change my job. Not as if I was planning I will change my job.
Okay.
So when you reach a certain stage where you feel there's a no-go,
Yeah.
So I'll come to that after you want to say
So, like
something.
you said that, in the same company also switch roles and all, and sometimes you're given a role which is not desirable by you. You may feel that, I am more fit for a different kind of profile, and they have given me this profile, and motivation in any job is very important. So, how do you maintain your motivation in such a scenario when you're like given the transfer letter and given a role that, okay, from today you will be handling operations and a sales guy, or you are transferred to some HR job or any job like which is not according to
Which is
your,
not what you
yeah,
wanted.
what you want,
Okay.
and which you feel at that point
Right.
is not what you really want in your career path. So, how do you maintain your motivation level?
Normally, in a company, one would expect you to be talked to and explain why this change, uh, unless there's a problem where something has to be readjusted and you don't have too much of a choice, especially when the company is not going through a good phase. Then some readjustments are required. Some people may need to leave, and so somebody has to take on that role. So such kind of things can happen, but usually one would explain to a person that I'm shifting from A to B, and hopefully there's a value addition to that person. If you feel it's not so and you're not liking that particular role now, which means in simple way you're actually disengaged. And you're disengaged in your job, I think it's a stressful situation. You're not enjoying it. You're doing it for the sake of, because I have to earn and I have to keep my job. I would then say you have 2-3 choices. One is speak to your seniors and say, I'm not actually feeling comfortable here. May I look at some other option within? Or can you give me some extra things to do so that I can feel there's some more,
Yeah.
things like that. But those are, specific to that situation. In case, I'll give you my example, which could perhaps give. So with Siemens, the 10 years I finished, 5 years and 5 that I explained, I was actually doing very well. I reached a senior manager level at a very young age, much ahead of many of my colleagues who
Batchmates
had
and
joined with me, batchmates. So everyone will say, wow, this guy is rising star, as they, whatever they call
Yeah.
nowadays. And I was still feeling discontented.
But why?
So there's this thing about watching what will happen to you in a few years. I felt that
Yeah.
the next step was to be what my boss is doing or something like that. If you don't see that opening, you wonder what will happen. Will you continue on this? So I always felt that you have to continue growing. You do your hard work, do your job properly, but you always aspire to what else
Do
can I
more,
do, right?
yeah.
And that's the process of growing. Uh, I always quote Maslow, Abraham Maslow. He's he's the one who
Yeah, hierarchy of needs
hierarchy
and
of
yeah.
needs, right? So he says in the beginning you have all your security, safety,
Yeah, the physical needs.
yeah, physical needs of survival.
Yeah.
Then you get to the next level where you want some independence, financial independence, or whatever. You feel comfortable. Only then will you start thinking of, now what shall I do
Self-esteem
about
and yeah.
exactly? So then you go to, I need to be recognized.
Yeah.
I need to have something of my own, maybe a house, maybe a family, maybe a car, whatever you want to acquire and feel that you have things. Then you start looking at self-esteem and recognition.
Yeah.
People should know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But there's one step ahead of that, is self-actualization, as he explains, which means you actually are tapping into your highest potential, trying to reach there, trying to work hard to understand what this is about. One of the things you need to do then is understand yourself well. So I'll come to that later. We'll discuss that also. But what I'm trying to say is, when you reach a position where you feel, I'm feeling stuck, I'm feeling stagnant. So it's not that I just left the company. I went to my bosses and I said, boss, I'm sorry, I'm here and I'm not in a hurry. But in the next 2-3 years, I'm looking at my own career planning. By the way, I did that myself. Many people would assume that the company will do, the bosses will do, but you should have your own career plan in mind. What do I want to achieve? So you
Sir,
must.
you had that clarity.
Yes, yes. I'm very clear that I must.
And you
Where am
feel
I going?
today's generation is clearer?
I don't know that, but I think many people do think this way,
Yeah.
that how will I plan it? So I went to my boss. I said, look, I'm here. I feel that my next step is, by the way, I've done planning.
Yeah.
So the planning gave me an overview of the whole organization,
Yeah.
how it works, from where what flows. I had that big picture in my head, which was a great advantage. But now I was advised that if I want to rise now, I must take a line function. That means you have an operational head, not a staff. Planning is a staff job. It has limitations, therefore. That's what I understood. And so the line function for me, what I was doing was a coordinate marketing and production. I could get into manufacturing head or a marketing head or a sales head. And that direction I'm talking about. Well, the organization said, you reached a level where we can't take a risk like that. And they felt there was no opening. So I got the feeling that nothing much is going to happen next. And so I decided then to move. It wasn't as if I moved for the sake of it. And what was my intention? To get into a line function. And I felt I was more oriented to manufacturing because I was more operation oriented. So I looked for, through headhunters and others, a job which will make me a production head. So by the way, when I left, I got into Voltas as my next job from Siemens after 10 years. I didn't really want to leave. I thought I was doing well and I was enjoying the company and its culture and all that. But this was a job where they had bought a new company which was not doing well at all. It needed to be revived. There was a huge problem with the union and the militancy at that time. And I was trying to get into a job which I knew nothing about. In the sense, I knew what they do, but I'd never done it before.
So what attracted you then to join?
Yeah, but just see here, the thing was also I had to agree to a lower salary because I'd done so well and risen that they couldn't afford to pay
But
that.
a job which you said you didn't understand the nature of work.
Once I didn't understand, I didn't know whether I'll succeed or many people told me your nature is not this. You will not succeed, which got my backup actually. So sometimes these motivations are different.
Negative reinforcement.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we say.
I will prove them wrong. But to me, it was a great challenge, and I immersed myself in that. And then, so therefore, this planning and the production head, and then I rose to be a works manager. Then I went to Calcutta after that.
From Voltas?
Yeah, in a company called GEC, Alstom now. Where it was something little senior to this. I became a general manager there. I got into the strategic management. So that change from Voltas to GEC, by the way, was because there was a lot of change at the top. And I felt uncomfortable. Sometimes you feel that discomfort. So I felt maybe I should move. And then I thought maybe I'll go to Calcutta and learn a new place. So some changes were actually pushed, I was pushed or felt I needed to change to keep that big picture going.
And so what is the big picture?
So I think when I became a general manager, then I started seeing business heads, managing directors, how they operated, and the board of directors, meeting them and discussing, and they interacting with you and then guiding you maybe. Then you start realizing what's their role and how they do it. And you realize that I'm not, maybe it's not the right way to say it, but sometimes I felt, look, why can't I do this job? They all can do it, so I should also be able to do it. And can I aspire to be that? I used to watch all these people very closely. What are they doing? How they're taking decisions? That's a learning process by itself. You can go through a training program. You can read books and stuff like that. This was a practical thing I was seeing alive in front of me. I had 20 bosses.
Oh, wow.
So imagine each boss was different. Each boss had his own pros, plus and minus in everybody. All of us are like that. Everything is not great with every boss. Nor am I, nor are we, any one of us. So what's the great thing they're doing and what are they excelling at? Grab that. What do you think they're not doing well at all and could have done better? Grab that too and say, not this, something better than this. So you're actually learning through both the positives and negatives. So I would recommend that as a practical way of observe and learn, observe and learn.
So this observe and learn,
Yeah.
it was self-taught or you were mentored by someone, or how was it? Like you said, I identified my own path. I knew I'll do this. So were you like nowadays people have life coach or they discuss their career journey and all. So were you
I didn't have a coach, nor did I have any specific mentor. But I am sure all the things that I know and learned, I've been guided by somebody or someone. Because coming to mentorship, you can have a mentor who will take you from one level to for many years. My personal belief, again, right or wrong, everyone needs to decide that, is that I wanted to become something on my own.
yeah,
You're authentic when you build yourself
yeah,
with knowledge and abilities from ground level up. You learn yourself, you are able to do all that. Then you have authenticity, you have a self confidence. You're not dependent on somebody else's force or power or help to survive and do well. So that's why when you change jobs to a different industry, or where you don't know anybody, a totally new boss, he most probably doesn't know you well enough to establish the relationship again, is comes from a self confidence of I can also do it. I will, of course, it doesn't mean it just happens. It's a lot of extra hard work because you have to learn a lot of new things.
So, having said that, like all this, what you do, you learn, you grasp, and all, it helps to build your persona. It's a personal brand about yourself, about how you are being perceived in the organization by your seniors, by your colleagues. And do you think having or building a personal brand is important?
I would think so. I mean, that's the most important aspect of it, because then you have a people have an image about you.
Yeah.
They see you in a certain light.
In a certain role, also they
Exactly.
perceive
So the
you.
role,
Yeah.
responsibility you're playing.
Yeah.
Do they feel that you got the right person sitting there, or you got somebody is not competing there? So that image that you have built, then when you're talking to people, addressing them, or even discussing with your colleagues or whatever, what kind of gravitas you convey, uh, how important they feel your views are.
Yeah.
How will that come unless they respect you,
Yeah.
they value your thoughts or your thinking process, or your knowledge or skills, whatever it may be. Therefore, that image or whatever you're talking of is actually a combination of all that. I have a few thoughts, suggestions which I learned, and so I'm sharing that
The viewers.
with the viewers, because I think that's what this is all about. So, by the way, if I may just address the viewers, firstly, I want to say I envy her job, because look at the things she's doing now. She's meeting different people and learning in an accelerated way how other people think, what they do.
And I'm
Yeah.
getting to meet such learned people, sir. I
So
can.
I find this beautiful. What you're doing is you're talking about going where you're not comfortable. This is one of the things you're
Yeah,
doing.
so I
yourself.
was never comfortable in front of camera. All my friends,
Yeah.
my family knows it.
Yeah.
And now look at this. So,
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to tell them is, I've I've worked 40 years, and from a very difficult childhood and early life, which was riddled with problems of financial and other issues, I somehow managed to, get past all that, get into corporate life, worked hard, tried my best, learned a lot to apply it, came to a level, and I reached the top of a company. So I feel I've been there, done that. Of course, now that I've retired, I've mentioned last time there's no retirement.
but sir, let
So-
me tell this also. I'm interrupting here.
Please, yeah.
But that, you are from manufacturing, from operations.
Yeah.
And not many people retire as the MD from this
From that,
background.
yeah. So
it
you're
is
right.
mostly sales, finance.
Yes.
So I'm sure you would have built your persona like that,
Yes.
you were taken or picked up as the MD, you were appointed as the MD. Yeah.
Some of it is, in a way, I'll call it luck, if you want to call it that, because things happen in a certain way. I was at the right place at the right time, you may say. Many people before me who were directors were equally competent or even better. But at that time, there was no vacancy, you know. So you have to also look at all these things. Uh, but
So, what
yeah.
did you do which helped to establish your personal brand? What were your learnings, or what were you doing things which helped you to establish yourself in the organization?
So I'll just go back to that Maslow thing about self-actualization. Many things happened in my life that made me go beyond the work front and learn things. But I believe strongly, and now with wisdom of having been through many things of such nature, unless you have reached a level where you are now beyond only recognition and reputation, you want to go really to what am I all about, what's my purpose, what is this, what I want to achieve in life. You need to take it to that level. And I believe that moment you start thinking in that larger picture, you will be automatically, I feel, looking at larger jobs, because senior level jobs tend to want to be where you are no more important personally, according to me. You are now, the organization depends on you, other people depend on you. You have to forget your requirements and now say, what am I going to do for this family of people, for the whole ecosystem around? Because now you're sitting on a chair, which I think you have a accountability for. So it takes the job to a very different level, and so it's part of that growth. Some of the things I did or was taught, and I don't know from where I learned, who taught me, honestly, I'll tell you, because I had many people guiding me and teaching me, is one has to know oneself a little more to be successful and to be able to find the right things to do, which sort of seem to adapt to you. So I would recommend a few things which I went through and which helped me. One was to do a personality test. Know what's your personality. There are tools for that. I did what is called a Myers-Briggs type indicator, MBTI in short. I happened to get it done at a very advanced level in Carnegie Mellon. I'd gone there for a program, and part of that was this topic of personality and how each one is different. So there are 16 types of people as per that. And I, just for this thing, I got into what is called an INTJ. These are roughly 2% of the population. So you have a certain set of traits and attitudes or way of doing things. That's the personality you are. And then you try to see that reading about what you think you are actually is a huge input. And then you realize that where you could go wrong and where you need to modify or be careful. You know, what are the right things there and what, that's one. In MBTI, there's also something called DISC, which other people use. So I would recommend do that to know what you're all about. The second one is important as you start going senior. Where does your motivation come from? Do you wait for your boss to pat you on the back? Or is it something internal? You know, the more internal motivation there is and an intent to do something, irrespective of problems, setbacks.
So both matter, internal and external motivation.
After a while, you don't want any more shabashis anymore, because you're beyond all that. Beyond, I'm not trying to be. That's not important, but that's not something you need to look for anymore, because you're now looking at what is driving me and how will I do well for others and give them shabashi instead, rather than you wait for your shabashi, you know, in that sense. I was taught that be very particular that what you're learning is so solid and so grounded that you have a lot of knowledge, skills, competencies, abilities that you amass and collect and know how to use. Because one of my bosses says, you know, your career is like an L.
Okay,
so the base of the L is the strong L that you need to grow.
The foundation.
And if you want to grow upwards, if you are shaky at the bottom, you'll topple over the moment you rise a little.
That I'm hearing for the first time.
Can you imagine, the concept is good now at the mental level. You make a strong base and you rise more and more you can rise if your base is stronger. So that's something which stayed with me, is which is what I was telling you that day. Yeah.
And so, but everybody wants instant success. Everybody wants to be a CEO. No, everybody wants to be at the early stage in 40s. They want to be at the top level doing this, and there are people. So, sir, what do you feel that are they not making their foundation strong,
I
or
won't say necessarily so. You can do quick learning. A lot of successful people who are at the top in the 40s, 30s,
Yeah.
depending on the kind of industry, by the way. I won't, I will only say that be careful that you're not taking on a role which you're not prepared yourself for yet, because then you can stumble or whatever. The second thing I want to say is not everyone will be lucky to get it so early in life. But I always say that you have almost 40 years and you normally start working in the 20s, early 20s. You normally retire at 60, 65. So there's a clear 40-year career plan, right? So, I mean, a few years here and there, I don't think really matter. Okay, so you become MD at 35 and you go on till 65. So, what happens now? Aren't you looking for some change then? So, I think continuous evolution of yourself, learning new things, growing also as a holistic person rather than just a career growth, I would say is important.
but sir, sometimes I feel that your personal challenges also act as a hurdle, also become a hurdle. Like, I'll tell you an example. Sometime back, a friend was telling me that he got an offer to move to Chennai, and he's based in Bombay right now. And they have a good ecosystem in Bombay. It's a good job, and their daughter is in ninth. And the first reaction of his family was, oh, next year is my 10th, we can't switch school, and why to move? So, such challenges come, like when you have to prioritize between your like family you want to prioritize, or you want to prioritize your career goals. So how do you tackle or how do you navigate this balance then?
In general, I have to say I've been a little guilty of not looking at the other side of problems and said we will manage that too. But no decision did we take which we didn't discuss over time, sleep over it, and as I said, even write down what it'll do. I mean, if you take that plunge or change and then you find you're not happy, family is not happy, you feel you're trapped in some situation which you didn't like. So I would say don't be in a hurry. And like I said, if you're really good, somebody else will come. Maybe then you wait for that instead.
The same city,
you know.
they will come.
So, I mean, in how many times will you change? You can change once or twice in that senior level. So I think pick and choose correctly is what I would suggest.
So, sir, now as we are talking about the personal challenges also, which come in our professional life, in our career path, these days we hear a lot of young professionals getting cardiac arrest. The professional and the personal balance is really an imbalance, and the work stress has increased a lot. There are no defined working hours, there is no concept of weekends. So, how do you think people will manage stress? Like on this World Mental Health Day on LinkedIn, I saw so many posts which people had posted. And one question which triggered was that, people realize it later. So, your learnings or your things which on your journey which you would like to reflect that, people should make note of it, and that why balancing both is important, and most importantly, how to balance it.
So I'm going to say something little different first. To say that actually stress is a requirement in life. That stress is in a way a challenge or
It pushes you.
asking you, exactly, pushing you to something higher, right? So your potential is getting pushed and you come up with something which you hadn't done before because your true potential is not
You're alchemizing yourself.
Great, great. So I think that stress is an essential requirement. When it gets to be I don't know what's the word, unmanageable or starts getting at you
too much, like at times.
But it's also a situation where you're allowing it to affect you in some ways, I'm saying. So we were discussing other things, where's your motivation coming from us. So there's something called locus of control, which I have studied and tried to learn. The simple thing is, where does what do you believe in, what do you want to do, what you believe in, things are based on your control or they're based on some external control. So internal control, locus of control, or external locus of control. So you can have this attitude of what can I do? That is happening. I'm the victim of so many things. Nothing I can do is one way of looking, which is more stress causing, by the way, because you're not in control and things are happening to you. So the internal locus of control actually says that I think I can do a lot of things. A lot of things depend on me and how I do things, and and make things happen rather than let things happen to me. It's a concept, and something
Changes your perception.
exactly, and you need to start working at yourself. It leads to what people call self-efficacy, which means that you tend to be more empowered because you're now saying, I can manage, I can try and control this, I can maneuver this, I can negotiate with this. It's a challenge, this hurdle I will cross, etc. You also, I think, enlarge your need to know more things. You also gain in more self-confidence. So this is a requirement to, I would say, beat stress in a way. So one has to work on it, right?
And when do you know what amount of stress you can take also?
That I think everyone has a threshold. Some can take more, some can take less. That's, I think, very personal. But in some ways, I feel one can thrive in stressful situations if you don't let it affect you. I mean, just trying to, that stress is a challenge. Don't let it bother you where you're feeling helpless. Then it gets multiplied very fast. That's all I can really say. If other things, like you said, somebody getting a cardiac arrest, etc. I think we discussed in the last time when we met that good health is very important. And even when you want to rise in organization, if you're not healthy, you're not feeling mentally,
both physical and
physically,
mental health are important,
and perseverance, because difficult things require perseverance at times. It means you need to have the energy to carry on and on in spite of difficulties. So these are qualities that you need to imbibe, and then you will find that stress actually starts getting controlled. But if something is so bad that things are bothering you to an extreme, in spite of all this, then I would say look for a change. I mean, don't keep yourself. Something is bothering you, right? Do something that will undo that situation, whatever that is. I mean, we are not talking specifics here.
So what were your go-to activities to manage stress? Like these days?
So I used to play. I used to actually, apart from the seriousness of the work and all, throughout my life, I ensure that I enjoyed my life playing games and
outdoor
fooling
sports
around. Yeah, I played all kinds of sports. Even reached the college football team. I played cricket even in the Time Shield from my company.
And so from where did you get the time?
I don't know how to answer that. Somebody once told me everybody has the same amount of time.
Yeah,
24 hours a
and my
day,
father
right?
always told me that you will get only 24 hours. You have
So
to learn to
how
manage
you
it.
manage, There was a little book called 1 Minute Manager, if you remember, long back, a bestseller, small book. Just talked of how to ensure that you're not wasting time on the wrong things. That's the only way I can answer that question.
Actually, I think, I get what you're saying, that today we spend so much time wasting on social media, going on those unnecessarily reels and just watching them. Better time management.
The other things to do, sports, as I mentioned to you, reading. I told you I got into music and something.
You started learning. But so that was at a later stage?
Yeah, so actually, I told you that some family illness happened, which pushed me into what I call left brain activities, like meditation and music and the art side, not the engineering side. And I started doing meditation at a more simpler level initially. I understood that made a difference, right? Then I actually studied what's it about, and actually it's an important lesson I learned from there. And then I started applying it to work. If you're doing meditation, what happens is your brain has a certain frequency how it operates, like an ECG for the heart. You can do an EEG for your brain, and so there are few states of the brain frequency. our normal life as we are in now, doing routine work and being busy and managing day to day, we accept to be in beta state. You meditate a little or go calm down yourself. Meditate need not be sitting and meditating, but just go to a river front or a seaside and just watch a mountain or be in a greenery or just relax. Moment you do that, you start entering what is called the alpha state. Meditation is a quick way of doing it.
Yeah.
When you're in alpha state, I learned that you are more creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are more innovative. So imagine now you have all beta state people in R&D.
Yeah.
You want them to be in alpha state. Think of it in a simplistic way. So I brought thoughts like how to bring music to the workplace, so that you take a break and from all the husbands that you're doing, you come down and you go back to work. So make it part of life. Tried that experiment. Then I went deeper into meditation because I realized it's got more connotations. I told you once I did Vipassana also. It's a
so you did,
very tough one, but I managed to finish that. And that takes you to theta level, which is even a deep meditation. There you get into an insightful situation. Intuition is very high. If you want to call it the eureka moment of your life, that's where it possibly can happen in that state. So I started understanding that meditation from non-stressful to beat stress was one, but now I learned that it's actually a positive thing to use.
So all this you started doing at the age of like when you were 50?
Maybe beyond 40. Yeah.
So this is your learning that you would want to share to the viewers, that sooner the better.
I always say to everybody, I wish I had started all this 20 years earlier. Imagine how much more I would have progressed. Because it's again part of that understanding yourself and holistic growth. The moment you enlarge your canvas and your try to do different things at a larger level, you yourself realize that you understand things little better. You understand, if you call wisdom, wisdom is actually all this, learning all these and putting it all in place together like a puzzle which fits in from here and there. So then you get into different situations in life, you have a recall of, that's the answer to this internally. So I believe that internal motivation, internal locus of control, all these are part of all this, I think. And so at the end of having grown at a career level, I think these are the real important things now to actually get into, because then you are into, there's one guy, I remember, one gentleman who said, you do things, make things happen, and then later on, as you can't reach out to everybody personally, nor can you be in everywhere in the organization. Then you have to influence people to do things. Now that's a very different role. For that, you talked of that respect and authenticity and the image. If you're saying something to a whole lot of people, they need to believe you first of all. So it must have a bearing on what they read you as, what they think you are all about, and what you're saying seems to fit in. So one more thing I would like to add to that is, another way of looking at it, add values and beliefs to yourself, your own life. Like every company we work with, they'll have a values and it's on the
it's there, the
displayed
mission,
everywhere. You're supposed to follow that. How about your own self? Do you have any values? Your family has any values? Do you believe in something that will be like a anchor for you when things are not going right? Where will you go? You can either go and ask somebody, what shall I do? Or if you are internally motivated, then you start looking at searching for all the things that you have gathered and collected and say, so then that's yours. The reason why it's important, if it's yours, you believe in that more and you'd most probably follow it up better. Somebody gives you an advice, say, okay, let me try that. You may be half-hearted. Something coming from deep inside you, you'll I think do it, definitely. So I think that's important.
So, sir, now as we are in the last segment of our today's episode, and in this season 2 of Let Us Talk, we are highlighting the learnings, the takeaways from our seniors, and especially the things which they regret that they didn't do in their younger years. So, sir, your learnings to our audience that wish you had done these things and wish they can implement it from now.
Regrets, I think there are many.
Still, to
Yeah,
name
there are
a
many
few.
regrets are small
We
and
all
big
have
ones.
some. We are
Yeah,
all
yeah.
humans. Yeah.
But I think one shouldn't let it bother you for too long. You should get over them, and because life has to carry on.
Yeah.
So I would say early life. I mentioned. I wish I was richer. I mean, we didn't enjoy so many things in childhood days or young when I was a teenager or whatever. Going to school, have all my classmates going in cars driven down. I will sit in a bus and watch the cars go by. Lunchtime.
That's an honest confession.
No, it is.
Yeah.
I went through all that.
Yeah.
Lunchtime, which restaurant can you go? Because you had a budget problem. These guys would go and you couldn't join them.
I would say this prepared you to face the tougher world.
Yeah, in a way, it
you were
bothered
in that
me.
alchemizing
Of course,
process.
it bothered
Yeah.
me, but
And
I think
it pushed you to work.
It pushed me to say,
Yeah.
one day I want to be like this.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
was a positive of it.
Yeah.
So I think keep that. In hindsight now, I think have a sense of humor because
Yeah.
you can laugh at it now.
It is
That time
needed.
maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't. So
Yeah.
sense of humor is important. I remember I didn't mention that earlier. One other time they made a serious crisis in the company. I don't want to discuss too much detail. How to revive it, how to make the problem go away because the whole organization was in shock. You want to make a plan, you want to, obviously everybody is trying their best to, and it happened finally, all that is over and we can all laugh at it now. It happened then.
Yeah.
But I remember in one of the meetings I actually played a song just to lighten the mood. That
Was
song
the mood
was
lightened?
yeah, it did. It lightened everybody up because the thing was the heat is on with the song. There was a movie which had come up, Beverly Hills Cop, and
Yeah.
that song was played as a backdrop. It's a very famous song by I think Glenn Frey, ex-Eagles, I think. So that song I love as such, and so I actually played it just to lighten the mood, and I think these are required once in a while too. So anyway, coming back to other regrets. The same regret after passing IIT, most of my colleagues went abroad or did IIM. At that time, we all felt to grow in life, to grow to higher position, these were essential requirements to be an MBA. A pure engineer will not make it in life. So that was a feeling, and I felt I lost out. I didn't have the financial ability to carry that on or get into a job quickly. So things like that. Going further, many of the things I learned to do, all these extracurricular, as we call them, things which I learned more because I was pushed into something like music, this, that. I wish I had done
This earlier.
I mean, now I've been enjoying it much more. I'm still struggling with it as a student. You want to get to be a little more expert level so you can start enjoying that more. Things like that. One thing which I feel I never did have the courage or had the ability to do is to be an entrepreneur. To own a company of your own,
That entrepreneurial bug has hit
yeah.
everyone.
So
in
it's
today's
a
world.
different mindset.
Yeah, it's a different mindset.
Yeah, and I don't think I felt, so maybe the next life one can plan that, and that's something which left me as something which I haven't managed to try. If you're asking me that, otherwise regrets are something which sometimes they actually, like you said, they spur you on to.
They push you.
Yeah. So it's good. Some setbacks in life are necessary to recalibrate, readjust yourself. So I always say, I think in the last time we said difficulties build your character.
Yeah.
Actually, it's true. Good things, you're just coasting along, and suddenly, wham, something goes wrong, and you have a real setback. I think you start reflecting, you start recalibrating. You need to rethink what did I do wrong, what should I do automatically. So in the regrets there is also positive.
Yeah.
I believe in seeing life always in a positive way, never in a negative way, whether it's stress, it's problems, setback. Okay, they happen now. Do your best to overcome it. Find ways to overcome it. Raise your level of abilities to counter, because moment the challenge is tougher, you need to bring up from within you more abilities to counter that. I think that's the growing up stage actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I see it that way.
So, sir, what pearls of wisdom would you like to end our today's conversation for the younger generation, especially to handle their professional challenges, where everybody is in a rat race to be, at the top, and in that thing they are losing on their personal life too. The stress level has increased, and work-wise also sometimes, they make wrong career choices also. So, what message do you have for them?
So one or two things I can tell them.
Yes.
First of all, I think enjoy life as it comes, because ups and downs are part of life. And I think
This
that's
they would have not expected.
no, I'm serious. I actually
Yeah.
seen it, and out of wisdom, I'm telling you this
Yeah.
now. And it is important to enjoy life. Ups and downs are part of life. I think plan your career, plan your life. I mentioned just now, personally, know what you're all about yourself. What do you want to achieve? I think have that big
Picture.
picture of yours that you want to. So it gives you a direction.
Yeah.
It gives you a purpose of what you're doing. Third thing I will say is don't change jobs or your role just for the heck of doing it, just because of impulsive nature. Plan, you got 40 years, you know, pace it out. Sometime in difficult situation, ride it, manage to survive it, if you want to call it that. Work on your personality, work on your abilities, widen your knowledge field, because the more, I think this beautiful thing I learned from somebody, the more you know, more you learn, or the more you start understanding, you realize how little you know.
True.
And the less you know, the more you think
Yeah,
you know.
you know.
I'm
True
almost
that.
like that. So
True.
you must always feel you're a student forever, and keep learning. Keeps you young, keeps you alert, keeps you happy, keeps you always want to know what's there, and that's where it comes from. Go where you never been before.
Yeah.
So
always have that
I would sum
curiosity
up
in
all
you.
that.
Yeah.
I lived through that, and I think not that what I learned is applicable to everybody, but just a thought process I want to share. I hope I have managed to convey some few things which will be helpful to your audience.
Yes, sir. And let me end our today's conversation from where we started, that do something what you're uncomfortable doing. Life is your biggest teacher. Keep experimenting, keep trying, keep learning. And that's the lesson, my takeaway from our today's session, that the L which you spoke about, that have your foundation strong. Sometimes, we feel that why are we doing this? What is happening? And later when we join the parts, later when the puzzle fits in, we see, yes, how everything
Very
was
true.
in place.
Right.
So that patience which we all lose to, have that early success and all. So thanks for reminding us to focus on the values also while being on the career path. Thank you so much, sir, for being here and sharing your insights with
So
us.
thank you, thanks all of you. I hope you help Subhi now with her plans to take this channel forward.
Yeah, we've come in
Please,
season 2.
please spread the word around, share this podcast with your friends, like it, subscribe to her
Subscribe
channel.
it, yes.
Because I see all this on YouTube, everybody's asking for that. It's a whole big crowd there.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that you've taken this new role.
Yeah, something
So
which
wish
I've
you all
never
the
done
best.
before.
Wish you all the best, and I want to wish the audience all the best
Thank
in
you,
whatever
sir.
they are trying to do. Thank you so much.